Hello and welcome to this edition of Point Forward 5, looking at some updates from the Milwaukee Bucks. As we speak this week, the Milwaukee Bucks have just released their Summer League roster. Some familiar names on that list. Among them, Hugo Besson, one of my favorites, but also Ty Washington, who was a two-way player last year. What does Summer League mean, Jim? Is it, by the way, that's Jim Owczarski from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel Bucks reporter. I should point that out. I'm JR Radcliffe. What does Summer League mean? I mean, the Bucks have an open roster spot. Is this an open tryout? Like, how do you look at what's to come?
I don't think so. I think with the fact that, they've got draft picks AJ Johnson and Tyler Smith signed at the back end of that roster, JR, along with last year's rookies, Andre Jackson Jr., Chris Livingston, which I think are in different tiers. Like Chris didn't really play very much as a 19-year-old. Andre obviously was more ready-made for the league. MarJon Beauchamp actually is back for another summer league, entering his third year, JR. I don't know if it's not a tryout for like the two-way guys, like Stanley Umide, for instance, recent two-way signing, not going to play, or at least not scheduled to play. He's entering his third season as well. I think if Bucks fans can take anything from Summer League, it's this. MarJon Beauchamp, if he plays, needs to be the best player in Summer League. I mean, he's entering his third season, JR, like of the NBA. So if he play, even if it's just one game, he needs to be far and away the best player on the floor, in my opinion. I think Andre Jackson Jr. And a guy like Ty Washington, former first-round pick, those guys should also dominate in whatever fashion they are. Now, Ty is interesting. I don't believe, JR, he's currently on a two-way anymore. I think Jalen Galloway, Ryan Rollins are the other two-ways. So Ty is sort of playing to showcase, if you will. I'm going to start there, though, with the Chris Livingston, for instance, should look really good. Now, down to the draft picks, AJ Johnson, Tyler Smith, first taste of like NBA kind of players, etc. You want them to flash. You want them to look, oh, hey, that's why they were drafted, right? But for me, it's about MarJon looking amazing and kind of going from there. Andre Jackson Jr. What I'm curious there, JR, is what do they have him do? Like, is he going to bring the ball up? Is he going to facilitate? I'm not really going to get into like making shots and stats and percentages. I think it's more of, are they looking at him as maybe another ball handler in a way that he served in UConn, but maybe not last year. So I think Summer League, to me, JR, those are the key points, key players to look for. And if you're excited about the rookies, which we're all excited about rookies, you just want to see some flashes and the oh wow moment that the team told you that they've seen from these guys.
Yeah, I feel like we said the same thing about MarJon last year. And when he played, he was good. And
he was very good.
Yeah, and then he still remains this enigma. I don't know if anyone really knows what to do with him, what his future is with the Milwaukee Bucks. So I will be paying attention to that for sure. Bucks, their roster is almost finalized. Mentioned there is that last roster spot, but they did bring in a couple guys on veteran minimums, Delon Wright and Taurean Prince. The latter of the two, I think, is kind of the more interesting, maybe in my mind, a guy who's more likely to get some rotation minutes on this Bucks team. I don't know if you have any lingering thoughts about bringing those guys in. The Taurean Prince signing was just made official on Tuesday, kind of a little bit later than I think we thought. So how do you see those guys fitting in?
Yeah, look, I mean, Delon Wright's going to be in that rotation as well. I think what's interesting as the team currently sits, and it does tie back into MarJon. MarJon's listed as a guard on the summer team roster. Delon Wright has started at times. He's like 6'5". He's a combo guard. Is the plan for him to start next to Dame? Like, they're kind of in the boat they were a year ago. I mean, Beasley ended up starting all those games. And then, Pat Bevan, the very end. They're kind of without a shooting guard. So is it Beauchamp? Is it Jackson Jr.? Is it Wright? As we record this, that's kind of the mix for the off guard next to Dame. And we know, obviously, Dame is not your traditional point. So that's a Delon Wright thing. I think that's interesting. That ties into the summer league equation. Taurean Prince, about the same size, 6'6", 218, but definitely a wing, a forward. And yeah, JR, I mean, he's got experience with Darvin Ham going back to their Atlanta days under Bud to last year when Darvin was the head coach with the Lakers and Taurean was there. Taurean, again, started at one point, double-digit a game scorer when he was playing 30 minutes a game in Atlanta, Brooklyn. Now, of late, he's been sort of a reserve. That's probably the role. Maybe if they go with Giannis at the 5 and some of those smaller lineups, JR, he can start. I think what the Bucks look at is he shot 39% from 3 last year. JR, 38% in Minnesota the year before. I mean, he's developed into a very good three-point shooter the last 3-4 years. Typically, when guys like that come to Milwaukee, they get even better. And that's because they're left wide open the majority of the time. So, yeah, what I like, JR, is last time we did this, I was like, look, the Bucks got to move off these 35-year-old guys as sort of these veteran minimums. And that's what they did. Delon Wright's 32, Taurean's 30. I would think a little more tread on the tires, a little more bounce, both defensively, maybe more consistent as three-point shooters. So, yeah, I think I know Bucks fans like these moves. I like these moves. I think they are in a much better spot. Even if they sit with 14, JR, to start the season, they have done that in the past to give them flexibility. I think the shooting guard spot is an interesting one as we speak. But Prince, Wright, I think, are two of their better free agent minimums that they've had in the last 3-4 years, I think.
Last thought then, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Greece. They are going to the Olympics for the first time since 2008. Very emotional moment. Giannis is going to be carrying the flag. He's going to be the flag bearer, one of the 2 flag bearers for Greece, the first nation in that march. It's going to be it's going to be great. I think a lot of people are looking forward to it, but there is, of course, for Bucks fans, a conflict of emotion here. You know, you don't want to see your franchise player who missed the playoffs in the late part of the season with an injury. You don't want to see him taking the risk of playing high-level basketball for something that is not the Bucks. I'm curious what you think the Bucks think about this. Obviously, publicly, they'll say, we want you to do what you love, represent your country. You know how meaningful this is to Giannis, and they have done so much above and beyond to accommodate Giannis over the years. But how do you think they view this? Like, is it conflicting for them like it is for fans?
I mean, no, in the sense that their mission goal is his happiness and his state of mind well-being. So that trumps, I think, even fear. Because look, I mean, Thanasis blows an Achilles in a run, right? Like, guys get hurt in open gyms in their runs, no matter how controlled they are. Yes, this is different. This is for the Olympics. Like if somehow Greece were to get in the medal round and they play France,
it's plausible.
Rudy Gobert and Victor and all those dudes are going to beat them up and hang on them and like, so that's going to happen in a way that like a controlled off-season scrimmage isn't. Sure. Look, yeah, he didn't play since April. He looked good. His minutes were managed in the qualifying tournament. I think he only played over 20 once, which was the final game. Clearly he's going to have a heavier workload in the group of death with Australia, Canada, and Spain. The odds are they're not getting out of pool play.
No, I think they will. 3 teams could make it out of there. There are only 4 teams that get eliminated in pool play.
That is true. That is true. I don't know what the tiebreakers are. Like, I guess I wonder if they'll win a game, JR. Like, maybe they can beat Spain.
Well, if they go 3, they're not making it out of pool play. You're right about that.
That's what I mean by that. Like, they have to win a game. But whatever, we can get into that at whatever point. I think for Bucks fans, and even the Bucks know this, Giannis, I think, came out of one European qualifier as the most improved player in the NBA. He came out of a World Cup or a Eurobasket with an MVP season. He came out of a Eurobasket with his first ever 31 point per game season. He generally has played really, really good NBA basketball after a stint with his team. And Bobby Portis had a great year last year. I think the Chris Drew thing was different because it was such a compressed situation. Anthony Edwards last year, for instance, took a huge leap after a World Cup. Generally speaking, there's a bump as opposed to a regression or an injury type of situation when it comes to these things for players in their prime. So I don't know, JR. I think aside from, yes, the injury factor that can happen at any moment, I think Bucks fans should feel real good about this. Like this is such a huge deal for him, emotionally, mentally, to get that done. What a high for Giannis and Kostas, Dominican high school star, who was also on that team. Let's not forget that. Big deal. So I don't know, JR. I think it's really cool. I think he's going to play well, and I think it only bodes well for the Bucks, whether they are eliminated after 3 games or go to a medal round and whatever happens after that.
A chance to watch him and Greece play as we get into the late stages of July. Jim Owczarski, thanks for joining me. We'll be back again as news allows. Talk to you soon.